in full prepared agenda, but we know we do need to, yeah, we do know that, we need to approve some minutes. So the Bible is the minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have any recommended changes to those? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Someone needs to move.
Oh, move to.
All right.
The minutes, sorry.
I will second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passed. So let's get right down to business. And as I said, we'll start with the chapters on and table on recreation. So, which I thought was really well done, Rodney. Have you had a chance to read that, Dan?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna turn off the
So
phone.
for those of you who don't know, this is Dan McGlasson. He is the recreation director. Yeah. For the military. So Dan, did you have any suggestions, changes, input in regards to
I think it
the
was
chapter itself?
I thought it was overall pretty accurate. As far as the adult education, that's mine. I know that was a question partway through it. We don't currently like really offer any adult education, and I think the places that do would be like Waterville, or Augusta. So those are, as far as like continuing education, we don't have any of that. But we have, we've started to work.
This is Joy in Triago. I'm on the line. Just wanted you to know.
All right, thank you, Joy.
So we are gonna start doing Tai Chi with Spectrum Generations. That's gonna be something that we're gonna be piloting this summer. So that's
Oh,
a
nice.
partnership that we'll be doing to kind of cover that.
So do you see that more as, I mean, it's obviously adult, I would think for the most part, but do you see it as catering to seniors in particular or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Beach 3, the adult beach friendly recreation.
Yes. Yeah, so that was one of the, that's pretty recent. And then also pretty recently, we've been working with the, Belgrade Regional Health,
Mm-hmm.
and getting people that go there to go to the walk or to go to the exercise group that we have on Wednesdays, the balance and strength. It's free for those people, so I think that kind of,
Okay, so let's let Grandi get caught up on this. So there is a health center here in Belgrade, the Belgrade Regional Health Center. So Dan's talking about partnering with that. And so it sounded like you also mentioned a program that's not listed here as the adult and age friendly recreation, that being,
Yeah.
you mentioned a workout group.
yeah, strength and balance.
And it's on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Weekly?
Yeah.
Okay. And does that cater necessarily directly to seniors or?
It's mostly, it's exclusively seniors right now. I mean, that's the, that's all we have is seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was.
In the section above that, Dan, with the youth programs, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight that may not be part of those bullets? You're gonna have to forgive me. So Camp Loon, does that still exist?
Not currently. We're
Okay.
gonna be expanding our programming to have more. We're going up to 6th grade, and then we're gonna start allowing the preteens to be counselors in training.
Okay.
So it's not technically a program, it's an opportunity for volunteering.
You think that should be mentioned, the fact that maybe with Camp Golden Pond, that there's opportunities for, is that middle school kids to
It's 7th, 8th, and 9th graders can volunteer.
the volunteers, counselors in training?
Yeah.
Dan, do you have any sort of, the, pick with, what we call it, Kenneth Wharton Youth Sports Program? K-WISP is mentioned in this. Do you have any partnerships at all with K-WISP? Or is there a relationship between the town's recreation department and K-WISP?
Well, I can say to the town that we're starting to take over some of the facilities responsibilities for that. And
Like the mowing?
Yeah, the mowing, and we're doing taking care of the porta potty and the trash, to kind of take that burden. That's a nonprofit organization.
So there was, mention in here about the recreation director also being sort of overseeing the parks. Is that accurate? Because in my sense, it was more the facility maintenance director.
Yeah, currently I'm not really overseeing the parks. I mean, I do get consulted if we're gonna do stuff to the parks.
Mhm.
It also goes by the rec board, but I'm not like, I don't run the maintenance schedule for the parks in town.
And as far as you know, is there any programming that occurs in the parks? I mean, I know at one point there were some things, like some exercise things that were offered on the village green, like yoga.
We did that pretty infrequently. It wasn't super well attended, so it's not like a big, the Tai Chi, I think, is slated to be in the park if our first go with Tai Chi works, then we're gonna try to expand it, but right now it's still in the center.
You know, one of the big things that Dan oversees that I think needs to be mentioned in this chapter is we have a summer concert series. That's weekly from when to when, Dan?
This year it's from, I wanna say June. The last Thursday in June.
So for this purpose, we can say end of June through.
Yeah, end of June through the end of August.
Okay. And so that's a weekly concert series with local performers. Yeah, who on the village green, and it is very, very well, and then it's free.
Yeah.
It's very, very well attended.
So if we can go back to page 2.
Yep.
Had some question about the park expanded around Long Pond Beach. Are there any activities there or like?
So you raised the question, this is accurate, guest user says, not that I'm aware of, I'm not sure who the guest user is, but I think the guest user is. Does anyone else know? Pat, do you know, was Long Pond Beach Park expanded to include a wooden area?
No,
About
not that I think they have the 100 feet of frontage.
Yeah,
So,
The Toby property is right next to it, near the common area
Right.
there, which is,
and one of the things I noted, if you have that shared document pulled up is in the Center for All Seasons, it talks about craft shows, so those have moved to the village green.
We do have one craft show at the Center for All Seasons, the holiday craft show, but
Well, and two, I would definitely add to the Center for All Seasons, because this is a big event there too, just the Friends of the Library have their annual book sale. And that's very well attended. Should we mention that, town meeting is also held in that facility? Because,
When possible, could I ask a question, Dan? This is Joy.
go ahead, Joy.
Thank you. So have you done any surveys over the past year? And have you also been noticing the numbers climbing in any particular age groups for the use of the Center for All Seasons?
so
Do
currently.
you have
we
any demographics on that?
We have a community survey on our recreation, on the town page on the recreation section. And we've had, I mean, in the past 2 years, we went from very little programming to having, some Mondays we have 100 people come through, and that's about 75%. I would say 65 to 70% people over 13, and then the other, kind of a third of the season of the year round is children. So it's mostly people over 40 and then kids under 13.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney, one other note I made about the North Belgrade Community Center is that it's now, also serves as senior center. And, Dan, is it the Senior Resource Committee?
Yep.
Is that the name of it?
Yep.
And do they have programming there on a weekly basis?
Yes.
Okay,
So yeah, I mean, it's not consistent throughout the whole year, but they have movie Monday. Then they have a craft on Thursdays.
And also you've had a couple of events that would have been at the Center for All Seasons at the North Belgrade Center. You had like the sourdough starter class there.
Yeah. So
I think was there an exercise class there that Hazel gave?
I think she tried it there one time and then it
Okay.
didn't pan out, but she kept doing it at the center.
Yeah, so I think you're starting to try to put some more
Yeah.
events.
Yeah, I think we've had 2 extra events other than the community, bringing back the community dinner and the community potluck.
Which was delicious on Sunday.
did you go?
Yeah.
Great.
The other thing I noticed on page 3 in regards to handicapped accessible is one of the questions that you posed. And I'm pretty sure that Dan either has begun or is in the process of kicking that off to get more handicapped accessibility at Center for All Seasons, like at least the outdoor pathways and down to the lake.
So we're working with we're supposed to be starting a project to have a handicap accessible pathway go down to the beach.
But that's all been approved, it just hasn't started.
Yes,
That's
it's
right.
been approved, it just has,
It's out to bid, I believe. So it's super close.
yeah,
That's great.
So
so hopefully, I mean, that'd be pretty sweet.
So Dan, are there any, there's also a question raised just about enlarging facilities. Is there any plan to do that? I know at one point there was a plan to build some more storage space at the Center for All Seasons.
So that still is, the plan is to expand part of the building to contain more storage for chairs and tables and add a shower for staff and a bathroom for staff. That would be on the inside, and then the exterior, there's a group that's working to get funding to build pickleball courts there.
Oh, yeah, we do need to mention that.
So that's
That's the youth passion project.
And they're definitely a passionate group and they're putting a lot of work in, and I think it's a great project for the community.
It's a partial basketball and pickleball. So it will be 2 permanent pickleball courts with an additional space for like a half of the basketball court, where a temporary pickleball court could be added, for 3. But that is a huge area where we have summer people that come regularly every summer, and we just have too many people who hardly get to play. So something I think needs to be done, because there are tourists that actually ask, is there pickleball facilities when they're traveling? And
They have a filter on Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's also a question about whether or not the town partners with anyone, maybe including other towns, for any recreation programs. Any partnerships that you'd like to highlight?
I mean, we haven't had any real, partnerships per se. We do have a lot of people from the surrounding communities that utilize our center.
Yeah.
That
might be good. That might be good to know too. So of your summer camp program, Dan, how many of those kids are from Belgrade versus other communities?
I'd say there's some outliers that are kids that are from foreign countries that are visiting their grandparents, but most of the kids are from like Rome, Mount Vernon. On addition to Belgrade, there's probably, I would say like 75% Belgrade residents, and then 25% kids from, some kids will come from Sydney, some kids from Oakland. It's a pretty convenient place for parents, so they're driving right by usually.
Yeah. So Grania, your checklist question is, will existing recreational facilities and programs in the community and region accommodate projected growth or changes in age groups in your community? So I think there has been a conscious effort to add more things for adults and seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I actually Belgrade's really fortunate to have something like the Center for All Seasons simply because no many communities our size have a facility like that.
I'm just curious about the pickleball thing. How big are these courts when you get three together? What are the dimensions?
Yeah, a tennis court, you can put 2 pickleball courts on the tennis court.
Okay,
So if you, with the center net for a tennis court, 1 on each would fit, pretty perfectly. So they're much smaller than the tennis court.
305 to 60.
I'm just curious in the off season, like the winter. Could you put a liner on it or double it as an ice skating rink?
You could.
Yeah, we talked.
We did talk about that.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. It's a winter expansion.
Yeah, I mean, we did get a skating rink this year and it didn't fly off the way that we as much as we'd like it to. Whether they cooperate.
Well, I was about to say,
I don't have it to a repertoire until I can actually say that it's open and functioning. It was a little disappointing, but.
And to get back to your checklist question, just about the existing recreational programs, I think under Dan's leadership for what, the last 2 years?
Yeah,
The number, he's right, I mean, the number of programs have grown pretty substantially.
And participation is way up too.
Huh?
Participation is also way up.
Right, yeah. And so, I think, moving forward, that may well be a function of who's in that position. So if Dan's here and continues, it'll be great.
no, it's, I mean, it's just a lot of like, there just wasn't enough staff. I mean, it just wasn't staffed adequately for what the operations were.
Well, two, I think you're more motivated.
I mean, I have a background in all of it, so it helps. When we, we're not like partnering with other communities, but there's a woman that comes to pickleball who volunteers at the community center in Mount Vernon, so we do have, community ties to the surrounding towns. And the folks from Rome do utilize our programming a lot. That's like, most of the other people are from Rome.
Specific pickleball.
Oh, my word.
We would love that.
That would never turn it. Well, we broadcasted.
That
Pride, not prize though. Like, don't. Pride only. No winnings, but.
That's a good idea.
That's
Good
some stuff.
I can't say.
So, I did have a question. This is on page 5. There's a mention of the Galler WMA, and I wasn't sure that.
Wildlife management area.
I might have mine. And I assume that's at the, I think that's not the end of the Constable Road. So I would maybe throw in that the location.
Did we have anything in the private entities or the private camps, anything that like needs to be mentioned? I didn't want to put too much emphasis on the camps. Not the town really seems to have any control over, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any.
There has been, there's at least one of them that's a little problematic.
One of the things that I would love to see someday down the road in Belgrade is like a stage, like as an addition onto the rec center. Where people could do talks, it's more separate and higher, like a normal stage, and it could be just large enough to do small plays, maybe. Theater is a big subject in many camps, like, so that could be added onto that, because there's, not every kid is athletic, and some love music or theater, and so I just think that that's a missing element that we have.
Yeah, when we get to the tables, let's make sure we add that.
It's great.
Yeah.
We priced them out last year.
You did?
We've got some now that are extremely heavy in their hand, they're homemade, but they're just not feasible to move, so we did price some, and the board is, Parks and Rec is about getting some portable staging for that. Yeah.
Well, portable staging is one thing, but you know, when you can go off in a wing and change or something, that's kind of. You know,
So on page 6, Karandi, you also have another checklist question here. An inventory of water bodies in the community determined locally to have inadequate public access. I mean, honestly, I think that's all of it.
100%. 100%.
But
You have,
because Hans, do you recall how many, or Pat, you may notice how many miles of shoreline there are
Oh,
in
God.
Belgrade?
I don't know offhand, but it's, you've got Long Pond, Great Pond,
Well, there's
Ida
5 lakes.
Misselinski, Salmon Lake.
Yeah, 5 of the 7 lakes in the 7 lakes watershed are in Belgrade. And there's only, like 150 feet of public access, so.
yeah. I mean, they put a town, they did, at the town meeting, they put aside. They said they could access the money to pursue buying land for more, so the town is looking. For more public access.
Yeah.
Just limited places you could even have it, that would accommodate.
On page 5, water access and activities, are there any launches that we missed or?
I think the one I saw that was mentioned is the one down by Ham Lumber. It was on here, and are they ever gonna open that again?
Well, not,
Probably closed.
yeah, oh, it is?
Yeah,
I thought it
Yeah.
was, as it was listed here as it's for paddlecraft.
I don't believe you can launch a.
Yeah,
boat
you're not
anymore.
supposed to.
Okay.
They definitely sold it.
There was,
It looked like there was a
They
pier or
basically-
something put out there.
They didn't want anybody to be
Spreading around.
spreading, and that's been a few years that I don't know, but
I don't remember ever seeing it.
I don't think it may be permanent. Do you know? Hans?
It is closed to all activities right now, so you see photographers and occasionally somebody goes in there and breaks the rules, but.
Huh. Well, I definitely seen kayakers out there, so
Mhm.
maybe we should just note it's closed, but used nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, if we put it in there, maybe we will start using it. But the other thing that I saw about parking, which is like right below that. And it said that there was parking at Days and the Village Inn on Long Pond, and it only mentions the resource center for parking on Great Pond, but there's also Village Inn and Days store parking on the Great Pond side.
Okay.
I mentioned on there that, we mentioned, the Main Lakes resource here. Well, it was not for cars.
Okay,
Yeah, it's on page 6, is it?
okay,
6, top 6.
Yeah.
You have the annex too for
Yeah,
boat
Right,
access,
yes.
which,
5 docks
Yeah.
there.
which I identified on here is the post office, so.
Yeah.
Post office and village. And annex of 7 Lakes, but there's docks there,
Okay.
public docks there. And
So you guys are looking at the first paragraph, that
On page 6.
Days in Village over Long Pond side and Great Pond.
Village Inn is actually on the Great.
Well, they do have a dock on the other side. I don't know. if
Village Inn on one pond?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They had docks on the stream.
Yeah, but it was only mentioned on
Yeah.
Long Pond.
But also, I don't know if we need to, I think the docks at Days store and at 7LA are public, but the Village Inn is just, it's not public. They only want you there if you're having dinner.
Yes.
So they would discourage people coming over and hanging out for the day.
That's true.
I didn't hit on fishing too hard because we have that in extensively in another chapter.
So as far as the hiking trails, page 7, you're right that, there's an abundance of trails nearby, but I don't think any of them. are actually-
I could not find a single one that actually in Belgrade,
Yeah.
maybe like skim the border, but there's,
Most of them are in Rome. And I think you mentioned here correctly,
We're working on
And
it.
Mount Vernon.
We're working on it,
Indeed.
we're working on it.
Good.
Although that land that was purchased at Castle Island by Seven Lakes, Castle Island and Route 27 is gonna have a hiking trail on it or something.
Yeah, more of like a accessible one, but
Yeah,
there's some other bigger projects that, one big one that
yeah.
could be.
The health center.
Oh, right.
that
Yeah.
people Hike on.
Is that like about a 3/4 mile?
Yeah, it
trail?
goes into Bertline Gets
Oh.
and people who know,
Yeah.
you know, are allowed to continue through all that.
Should we mention that? Because there's this fellow here in town, Berkeley, that's what she just mentioned. Who has quite a bit of property and he has quite a number of trails on it and he lets the public use those
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good thing to
very
mention.
freely. So that's off of the
Chandler.
Chandler.
But it connects also with the health center, so
Right.
maybe if people started at the health center, you wouldn't have much people parking
Yeah.
at Bert's. Yeah, you probably should have.
But he allows both winter and summer use.
Are they multi-use or hiking or?
You can hike on it, but also, yeah, cross country skiing, yeah, not fun. Snowmobiling.
Yeah.
And the golf course does allow cross country.
Oh, that's a good thing to mention too, yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned the golf course in there, but yeah, they do allow people during the off season to walk, snowshoe and cross country ski. Up there. Christina always gets a little resentful when golf season starts. You have to remind her, without golfers, there'd be no golf course.
It's a necessary evil.
Do you guys know what? We're seeing people posting their property because of misuse and neglect. Things that we're seeing.
There's property that's posted, but I don't get the census because of that. It's just people don't want other people on the land.
Well, no, like if people allow ATV trails, like if there's an ITS trail and people are acting
I think
silly.
when you mentioned the snowmobile club, I don't think they have any problem getting access on the private property. But I do know that some folks do not want, they don't mind snowmobiles being on there.
Right, but they
don't-
don't ATVs.
But they don't want ATVs.
Yeah.
The
Just because of-
snowmobile club doesn't want the ATVs either on their trail.
Yeah.
In Chairman. In Chairman.
Yeah, it's a lot of-
So that-
And I think there are actually, yeah, there are some private property owners who don't mind snowmobiles, but they don't want skiers
Oh.
on the trail. Because they think that people skiing by might be we call scoping out
Oh.
their property to return with nefarious. It's striking as
Okay.
counterintuitive, but
And as far as hunters, I think a lot of times you're worrying that someone's gonna shoot you, you know? My cousin and I had allowed hunters, but until we started walking the camp road as exercise and or even driving as regularly as we do. And at that point, like somebody definitely,
yeah.
it's not safe.
I will say Seven Lakes does an excellent job in maintaining the trails, the trail systems that they have. In fact, we just hiked, Christina and I just did the Quill Hill.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
On the, which is new
One of
and
the new ones that,
yeah, really well done. And I'm not aware of any use conflicts trails.
Oh.
Maybe that's because there's no horses allowed on trails. And to me, that's where the conflict comes in, is when you have people and horses on. trails.
Anything else that needs to be added for, I mean, I touched on hunting briefly, some guide services. The wildlife management areas, obviously a huge hunting area.
So when on table 3, Rhonda, did you talk with Seven Lakes just about all the properties there? Because I don't know when this was last updated, but you know, there's been a lot of land that's been conserved by Seven Lakes over the last 10 years. I think.
I'll have yet to
Okay.
respond.
Oh, okay. You know, there's one of their board members sitting right there. Maybe official.
I'm on the land committee too, so I'll see that you get the information.
I mean, I think another thing that can be said too is, that, you know, the recreation department in Seven Lakes, you know, we're starting to do things together, like they're gonna have to run a few children's programs through the rec center.
Okay.
Or that they're gonna bring programming to our rec center for our kids. And maybe even offer to do guided hikes with our kids, so I think that there's some, I think you could say there's some form of, a partnership or, you know, working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got new staff members that are really engaged in that, so
yeah.
it's making a
We got
difference.
few projects we've started together.
This document, your important issues of they were in the old, whether they're still viable, and yes. Policy, correct.
So there's 3 state, policies, so we didn't have any existing ones that carried over from any plan, so we're gonna have to really go over. Just.
So the ones that are the state. Required language, are we not allowed to fiddle with that language at all? It need to be, okay, got it, all right. Now we
I
know.
wish, but
Yeah.
no. Page was this, was that? 36.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with the kind of point of the policy and strategy table?
I didn't even realize what that.
So basically, we can have, the state gives us several goals that they want to see each town. We don't have to say. We can also add our own policies and strategies to support the state goal as well as Calgary's has specifically. So the policy is kind of like the overarching, what do we want? We want, it can be very big, we should keep them somewhat open-ended. And the strategies are more concrete, tangible checklist items that the municipality itself can accomplish. So whether that's a committee, whether that's municipal staff, and then we have an implementing time frame.
so here are some of the ones that were in the last plan. Develop a trail plan. Map existing walking, hiking, and cycling trails, evaluate both private and public lands in which additional trails may be established. Determine the resources needed, priorities and timelines for building and linking trails and recreation sites, locate educational stations along trails. And Pat, please weigh in on this, but I might say that maybe a goal that is similar to that would simply be to support the efforts of Seven Lakes Alliance
That's the other kind of.
to do those things.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
So what would our policy be to support
So the,
our strategy to support the Seven Lakes Alliance, but we would create more educational, recreational.
I was, maybe something, Rhonda, that relates directly to trails.
We have worked with the town in Seven Lakes recently on property on West Road that's, almost 200 acres and 1,900 feet on the shorefront. Potential for, walking trails. It's kind of an old growth forest and significant wetlands. And we went to, Seven Lakes went to the town and, they needed really the town support because they're getting a Land for Maine's Future grant. And the town was very generous and not with money, but their support. And it really helps push forward those. So things are working like that. And that's just kind of one example how they do it.
Number 2 was North Belgrade opportunities for waterfront access, which is Barbara Allen's passion project. So I definitely think we should keep that.
No, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
ongoing.
Yeah. This also said expanding waterfront access at existing beaches. I mean, frankly, I don't know how you would do that at the Center for All Seasons and at Long Pond Beach.
I mean, we can, and build little things, but we can't. There's nothing we can do there.
Well, especially Long Pond, that's
Yeah.
treacherous. I mean, even if you try to expand access for handicap, it's not viable.
It'd be pretty far away.
Yeah.
So for our trail specific policy, what do we want that to look like? Is it build more? Is it encourage the use?
Maybe something to the, effect of, provide more opportunities to recreate on public trails.
Yeah. I think the town should help increase accessibility to passive or whatever it's passive recreation. And by supporting groups like this at the Lakes Alliance, something along those lines. Because to be 100% honest, we have town government to zero trails.
Yeah.
It's all 7 Lakes Alliance.
What
And
is,
that's not,
That's fine.
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
because-
great.
Because the town may not have the capital to,
We couldn't maintain them.
yeah, to do that, but we can be supportive in whatever ways it's seven.
That's very helpful too. You
Yeah.
can't underestimate the support of the town in getting these projects through, because they're often getting monies from other donors and, government funds. So they like to see that synergy between an organization and the town and the approval of the people who live here. Is a big thing.
So for the policy, provide more public recreational opportunities on local trail systems.
Yep.
Strategy would be working with existing partnerships to expand access, use, and educational opportunities on trail.
you mentioned something on Guptill Road. What is that?
The Gawler Wildlife Management Area, it's a state property.
Is that by the cell tower or is it
There's a
further up?
bunch, like, but it's kind of-
So you know where the Gawler Farm is?
Not real. I mean, I'm familiar with it. I don't know what
So-
name goes to
So
what.
if you drive to the end of the Guptill Road, I think to the end of the pavement,
Mhm.
there on your left, that is the wildlife management.
Yeah, there's a really narrow strip that kind of like goes behind somebody's private residence, and it then opens up into the large chunk of it. So there's definitely a lot of access issues there, because very minimal what you can do.
And that whole farm Hans has a conservation easement on it. And I wonder, and maybe this falls along the lines of, the policy that you just stated is, I wonder if there are opportunities to work with those landowners with conservation to encourage development of trails for public use. Because
Yeah.
I think, frankly, I would think the Gawler should probably be fine with that.
They could, I know,
That's something Belford do though.
It's part of open space, so since we talked about this a few times, I actually got the language. So just keeping an ordinary open space is eligible for a 20% reduction on the standard value as far as tax break. Permanently protected open space adds another 30%, so in total 50% if you do that. Forever wild open space, you get an additional 20%, so in other words, 70%, it all keeps adding. And then public access, this is the last one, that adds another 25%, so it becomes 95% reduction in the property value as it relates to tax.
So here's,
So maybe we do set up, whether that's under this recreational trail system policy, we do another strategy on provide educational material on the
tax benefits of
tax benefits of public access.
conserving land
Mhm.
and allow.
Because we have that already on natural resources, yeah, about the tax benefits of conserving land, so maybe we do conserving of allowing public access to conserve land resources.
Because if you have pockets up there, my thought is Guptill Road it's a good road to walk if you want some exercise.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah.
so, I mean, if you had a parking area in one pocket and just made a, you know, a nice walking gravel area
Mhm.
up to another. I mean, you could create a small walking trail using your public road. And I mean, it's good scenery up there.
Yeah.
It's a good walk.
Up there.
This is a good walk. I think there's some land there for sale now.
That wet one.
Yeah.
And then policy 5, you mentioned hiking in North Belgrade.
No, this was waterfront access. So this was 5.2. So I would just keep that, but 5.3 of expanding the waterfront access to existing beaches, I just don't think that's realistic. And then 5.4 was update signs and maps in public spaces. I think that's something that could be helpful.
I think I was told that's in progress.
Well, let's put it in the plan.
And then we should say, oh yeah, it's done.
Check.
Where would that fit?
Well, would it be under that, could it be under that same policy, is that it is helping to make people aware of these opportunities? Yeah. So, here's a question for you, Dan. Does the yacht club still do sailing for kids?
We're working with them to hopefully eventually take it over. As a town, currently, they are prepping for sailing this summer.
So maybe we could have a policy related to, providing opportunities for water recreation. That could be one. And then another, Dan, when we first got to town, you know, in the summertime, the rec department had all those kayaks sitting down there near the water. Do y'all allow folks to use those?
People can come in, I mean, we don't rent them yet, but I've been reaching out to other communities that they raffle. This is different than that, but they raffle off spaces for canoe and kayak racks for residents to leave their own canoe and kayaks at the beaches. So people would, you get 16 of them and
Yeah.
everyone enters.
So
What if we policy that would incorporate water access, some more of the non-traditional camp offerings? Something about growing the recreational opportunities?
well, and so I think the town then can, in that regard, could play a role
Yeah.
in, you know, allowing people, because if you did something like that here, where you said, hey, you know, yeah, we've got this, we got a rack, you can rent a space through the summertime, put your kayak there and come and,
It would be full,
yeah.
Yeah.
the whole thing. So this one, I mean, I think this one's kind of low hanging fruit. If we put it in there and we say that the town's gonna try to provide it. Work with the public to get personal people's watercrafts
Yeah.
usable. I mean, that's a big thing that I hear from people, that they don't, everyone in Belgrade has a kayak, everyone.
Right.
And 70% of those people don't use it.
Yeah. So, you know, you want these goals to be sort of expansive, and so I would just like providing opportunities for people to recreate on the water.
Yeah.
So seek funding and expand on recreational services for residents as a policy. And then as a strategy, we can expand on water recreational opportunities, whether
Including, they used to do, I want to say maybe it's on the Wednesday mornings in the summer, and there was a paddle.
Yeah.
Do y'all still do that?
I had a couple people show up for it last summer. I did it, the people inquired about it, so I did it. And, I mean, it wasn't really a feasible thing to continue as a director.
Yeah.
I
But heck, maybe, you know, if you have people who are gonna show up every week, let everybody do it.
well, yeah, Yeah, I think, I don't know how we can phrase it to have it be, to fit under that.
But you know, like providing opportunities for sailing for both kids
Yeah.
and or adults. You know, I mean, that would be a good way to provide some water recreation opportunities.
So offer water-based recreational programs, including storage of personal watercraft, rental of personal watercraft, and guided programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. Yeah, we're moving that way.
Get there. Program and services.
Sure.
And see what you think about this, Dan. In the last plan, there was a strategy to evaluate and underutilize town land and facilities, including existing land by transfer station for recreation purposes, and develop a strategic plan that enables largest potential benefits to the community.
I think they followed through that, got a whole entire plan done, but then never did anything.
Really?
Yeah. And I passed it off.
Yeah, I've got the master copy of it.
Oh, you do? There is a plan?
Yes, it kind of was gonna go in phases. First they had to harvest the trees that were there before you put trails in or any of that stuff in it. The value of the harvest was too low according to the foresters to make it worth their while. So everything's just kind of sitting there. But what that piece of land, it's 100 acres, it's right, up the Dunn Road from the transfer station. It's got a lot of wetlands, which have been marked, but it abuts a piece of property that the Seven Lakes is working on. It's 260 acres. And that was a phenomenal place. It's got high ground, big mountain views, and it's got tremendous potential. And that
Well, if we have a plan, maybe we can just explore implementing the plan, executing the plan.
yeah, we're very hopeful it's gonna, come together. Dan's been advising us too, and, the town's role probably in that. And that's something we want. It was kind of initiated by, working with the rec committee.
Yeah.
A couple of our members in the Lakes and Natural Resource Committee met with Dan. He said, hey, we can do this. And we go, that's good. How about here? So things happen in different ways.
So what about we, for policy, reinvigorate possible uses of the land by the transfer station?
Yeah. Pretty much the work's, done for that. It's pretty good. They got a forestry plan, they've got the trail plan. Could be, massaged a bit, but
Yes.
someone put a lot of work and did a good job.
Did you say you couldn't find someone to cut the trails?
Cut the trees, do the forestry. The price was too low that it wasn't worth doing, according to the notes they have in that master plan. It might be different now, values might be up. Yeah, so it's old, so.
Yeah.
I'd revisit it because like Kevin Hawes, I know when the roads are posted, he's
Yeah.
looking for things to do.
Yeah,
And if he knew that was there, he could leave his equipment,
you can do it.
take care of it when you can't move around.
Cause it's got a forestry survey, everybody know what to do,
And
everything.
he has all the gear.
Yeah, he's good.
So we still have to talk about ag and forestry. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Recreation? You kids are welcome to stay.
Yeah, no.
No, I have a really beautiful fiance at home and a dog and tacos, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they may want you to stay.
You're probably not wrong. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh.
Which side? this chapter. Just gonna jump straight to your notes. Your questions.
There was a lot that we needed additional information about.
Well, so one thing about our community is there's lots of former farmland, but farming is not,
Not big.
it's not big here. It's just not, it's I guess not as strong as they in places.
The other thing to note is that Winterberry Farm is being sold,
Yeah,
and they're hoping someone's gonna take it over and continue to farm it, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
I believe I saw that was under easy.
It's a forever farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
Provide the shots to.
Well-
Within some guidelines of use. Well, good. Are there any other? I was kind of trying to like find what the Woodlands farmers markets, 'cause I didn't know how else to find farms, but they also don't say what town the farms are in.
I don't think the other people that are at the farmer's market are in Belgrade.
No.
Just thinking about who's there.
Yeah,
Oh, you know, Alice at, Stony End.
But she's.
Rome.
Oh, she's wrong, right.
And, yeah, I think we would celebrate with the, when, good and high and down there with baked goods.
Right,
But, and again, I hadn't seen, did you mention?
Yes.
Because there is a very.
Yeah.
Jessica had a question here, whether this was true. There are fewer large-scale commercial farms and an increased number of smaller niche farms in recent years. This is on page 5. And so there definitely, I don't know that there are any large-scale commercial farms. And, but I don't know that the number of smaller niche farms are increasing either. Not sure.
I think it's part of that, and so like she and I were going like back and forth over this, just with my coworkers, about when is it a hobby? And when is it a farm?
The two that you have listed here
Are
definitely
farms.
working farm.
And at what point does that person who grows like a metric boatload of zucchini every year and gives it away, or produces honey and uses it here and there, when does it transition from a hobby and whatnot to farming? Is it a economic benefit? Is it your livelihood? That's what, okay.
Well, and I think to get, farm, there's a farm tax relief tax program. And you have to sell so much of your produce, there's a number, there's a fixed number.
Okay.
I don't know what that is, but I.
So that's kind of what we were talking about, the smaller farm. Is it hobby, when you say you have a homestead farm, or when you're getting this not?
The people who bought the dollars on the,
he's got horses up there.
yeah, I mean, they do farm-like things, but
He's a surgeon.
yeah, it's more of a pass. Your checklist question on page 5, how important is agriculture and or forestry? Are these activities growing, stable, or declining? So I think we can say agriculture is not important. Maybe hanging on by a thread. Forestry, on the other hand. Did you guys say that that's active, thriving?
Actual foresters, I think Kevin's the only one,
Yeah,
and I really don't know the dynamics of his business. I mean, he sells a lot of the byproduct as firewood, but
Yeah.
rather than biomass, he's not a biomass producer that I'm aware of.
The peppers are also produced with, harvest wood.
right, a lot of them cut on people's land and, you know, they,
So there's a lot of that done here in Belleville.
The peppers have harvested on property that my family's had.
Yeah. But like, I don't know where Kevin typically harvests timber from.
Winthrop.
Well, I have seen. the
Mount
signs
Vernon,
out towards that way.
yeah, he's heavy out there, some Rome. But I don't,
For a big tree harvest. I don't know who performed that, do you know?
that was a state company, it wasn't anybody local.
Minimal forestry, it's done. Landowner specified basis.
So I'm changing the subject slightly for 1 second. I looked up the farm to be eligible for farm tax, law. The parcel must have 5 contiguous acres and be used for farming, agriculture or horticulture and contribute at least $2,000 gross income from farming activities each year. So $2,000, that's a lot.
No.
Guess I gotta sell some ducks then, huh?
Yeah.
So on page 6, Rania, your checklist question, does the community support community forestry or agriculture? And in parentheses, you have small lots, community forest, tree farms. We have any tree farms in Belgrade?
There are some, I think, just older ones, you know, that,
Yeah.
well, next, they gotta be harvested every 10 years to be
Yeah.
active. Yeah,
135, not far down, that's a tree, that was always a tree farm.
Oh, yes.
Is it-
Across from Rich Baker's
Isn't
farm.
the place down at Camp Renoy a type of tree farm, but it's conservation, so I don't know if that qualifies, but it does say some type of tree farm.
Yeah, it's a forever tree farm. I think we have them on the list, Joy.
And then,
I think your tidy's land too here by the bog, isn't that tree farm,
Well, we have land and tree growth.
tree growth, okay.
You know how much there is offhand acreage, you think, Hans, tree growth?
No clue.
that's a question for the assessor. So, but on your checklist question, one of the things that's mentions farmer's market, I would say the community definitely supports farmer's market. Then Jessica raised another question, whether this is true. Currently, the biggest challenge Belgrade farmers are faced with, that's likely the same challenge every farmer should encounter, finding adequate labor. I don't know if it's true or not. Being able to make enough money to survive the biggest challenge. Why is Mary Perry Steps on Berry Farm?
She's gonna retire, her kids are grown up, she's going to live on an island with people, friends that she's got her own place, but she's gonna retire and.
Costa Rica, she's gonna do, flowers, and her son's involved with seaweed and other
Oh, yes, that's right,
I think she might be closer to him than she is.
yeah.
So what does the community do, if anything, to support and encourage local farms? Other than patronize?
I was gonna say bye to them.
Is the community taking any regulatory and or non-regulatory steps to protect productive farming and forestry lands? Are there local or regional land trusts actively working to protect farms or forest lands? Community, would you say that's true of Seven Lakes? Pat?
I would say it forestry, or forest land, but there isn't that much. There's open, kind of pasture land. It's kind of the soils here aren't, the same, aren't conducive to really, potatoes or large scale. It's more,
Unless you pack with fertilizer, and that's what we don't want.
yeah, and so they're just not, there's always, if you look back in history, they had apples, potatoes, but kind of, a smaller scale.
Rania, you asked if these organizations are actively working to protect farmland and forest land in Belgrade. The Kennebec Land Trust, I don't think that they actually have a presence here in Belgrade. I think their
No.
presence is all in Winthrop.
Yeah.
Maine Farmland Trust. I wouldn't know.
You will, can plan it.
Okay, all right, I'll be there. And Land for Maine Future, I mean, I know that that's a state program that's often tapped into.
Yes, they're active.
Another provision the town could consider is Maine's voluntary municipal farm support program. Does Belgrade have this? I'm aware of. What is that? Do you know?
I was not able to find a ton of it. It mostly sounds like a support group for farmers.
Oh, really? Well, this is interesting. You have all these tables here about the number of parcels that are enrolled in the farmland tax law.
You guys ever want some really dense reading, take a look at the municipal valuation returns.
It looks like all of these that are taking advantage of these tax laws, looks like they all had some pretty hefty increases. I mean, just as a percentage. Checklist question number on page 11. Are there large tracts of agricultural and industrial forest land that have been or may be sold for development in the foreseeable future? So what impact would that have on the community? I don't. Real estate agents, do y'all know of anything?
Well, just the one that just came up. You know,
Mm. Uh,
What size would you count for that?
it just says large tracts, Joyce. I guess that's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. I mean, there may be a couple. I mean, I have one on the market right now that's almost 7 acres. But,
You say 70?
no, 7.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
So 5 is a requisite.
And that's,
Typically 7 would
Yeah.
qualify.
and then, yeah. I mean, what are they, is that a yes or no question?
It says, are there large tracts of agricultural and industrial forest land that have been or may be sold for development in the foreseeable future? If so, what impact would that have on the community? And I would think, when I think of large tracts of land, I'm thinking about something that might be able to accommodate, say, like a solar farm. And,
Yeah.
and a solar farm ordinance is so restrictive that it's not terribly feasible. Let's say, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good way.
Well, the thing is, yeah, and I had been wanting to bring this up, and this would probably fit into that, this particular question, and that is LD 2003 and the new ordinance, and what the bonus addition for property in the business growth zones allows, and how that could impact development depending on how the ordinance is written. It's already been drafted, of course, and I guess it's going before to be voted on. But there are some really big differences depending on how that the state law is interpreted. Big differences in the density.
Yeah, this question though deals strictly with agricultural and industrial forest and development. So,
Yeah, but they're asking how would that impact?
LD 2003, just shoot Hans and I an email. And we can help you if there's any clarification needed. We're more than happy to.
Yeah, no, I've already spoken to Hans, but the thing is that if this particular question is asking how that, the sale or the development of that land would impact the community, has a lot to do with this new ordinance, because it may not have any impact whatsoever. Basically, the way I read it now, and Hans probably could say this, that it wouldn't have any impact the way that the ordinance is written now.
Yeah, because those would be future lots, not existing lots.
Yeah, so I think the answer is that it wouldn't have any impact. There might be some tracts or some parcels, but it wouldn't have any impact.
So I think the question, I think the answer to a lot of your questions frankly, no,
Yeah,
simply
it's not.
because, simply because.
Yeah.
agriculture and forestry is not a
Yeah.
major player in Belgrade. You think we're unusual in that regard for a small town?
And so for this region, I think that's pretty standard.
We're in northern Maine, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, places like Jackman,
Yeah.
I mean, I did their forestry chapter, that was probably double the length.
Yeah,
Because that's what they are, they're a forestry town. But so, I don't think it's abnormal, I think it's pretty standard and. That a lot of the nonprofit groups own the big chunks of land. The towns usually don't seem to own too much. I think it's more curious. The lack of farming. Like even haying doesn't seem to be big in Belgrade and. I mean, even like. I mean, Litchfield and Reedfield, there's. A lot of hay fields.
right.
Have you seen the
And it's
hills?
just,
It's been flatter, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Yeah.
the hills and the rocks.
Or whatever, a little pocket that's Belgrade is not good for hay, I guess.
We're good for gravel, not hay.
And cows, maybe there'd be more.
Yeah.
I think Belgrade is more, it's like our economy is more tourism.
Yeah,
than-
tourism, recreation, boarding, that mean,
So looking at the policies, other than what the state requires from the last plan, there was one about provide literature about farm practices and conservation planning. The landowners and inform them about farming, open space and tree growth tax law, so we sort of touched on that, Brian. Is that it? Do you think it's good to have a strategy in multiple tables? Okay,
duplicate efforts.
okay. Adopt standards which encourage cluster development design, which maximize the preservation of fields and pastures. I feel like we talked about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had that somewhere, was it 7.1?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of for the agriculture report would just be like supporting the local businesses, local farmers. It's gonna be super generic if that's something the town wants to advertise or even like that. Something simple like that.
You know what's interesting, it just occurred to me, that I have seen Woodbury farms at the farmer's market in Waterville. But not at the one in Belgrade.
Maybe because, I'm sorry, that's okay. It could be just because they have their own little shop there.
Have their own little farm store. Maybe I've got that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a critical mass of people in the village. that's selling them.
I would be there, but.
I wonder basically, if you move first, like, hey, have you ever bought that?
Since it's on the market, maybe that
New owners.
ownership will have to go to the next owners.
Yeah.
And same thing with the meat producing farm, you know, there are some people who sell meats there at the.
He's one of them.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Russell Dinner, Sunrise Farms.
Okay.
They're at the farmer's market. all the time.
okay.
Yeah.
They're selling meat products.
They've got, pork and beef and hamburger and chicken and.
Okay.
They've got everything, ham.
I don't know if this would help her. You know, there has been talking times about moving the farmers market to the village green. Simply because it's a really tight space.
Yeah, it's tucked down in the parking lot, right?
Yeah. And especially with the construction of that new parking lot.
Gonna
on
help.
On the south end of the village
Yeah.
green, it would make it really convenient to have that much parking right there next to. it. So, I know the farmers have been resistant to doing that. But maybe,
Is it because they can't drive on the green and sell out their cars or?
They don't sell out of their cars now. Well, I guess there's a couple,
Yeah.
seafood places.
yeah.
in that
But,
precious.
I think that they're afraid that there would be a cost
Mhm.
to them to do that, even though they do rent the place from Seven Lakes to do that now, but maybe maybe the town should just consider, in order just to have a critical mass of people.
Just keep
in a
the
bigger
costs
spot.
down.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the town should consider cutting a deal with the farmer's market to relocate it to the village greens.
It'd help traffic too, because now
Right.
Sundays, it's tight in there.
Yeah. Hello, Good Pie and the Girl would love it. Today's fine.
That's all it involves.
Not that far away. If you park at the, if you parked at 7-way stop,
Some people would grumble,
yeah.
if they don't get out of the boat and wait to the farmer's market, but I wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people do.
So I just did a policy to support local producers.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I mean, short and sweet.
Yeah.
And then investigate options to relocate farmers market to grow some sales.
The schedule.
That looks good, by the way. Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're really making some really good
That
progress.
is-
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that we will need to do, and maybe we wanna chat a little bit about it now, is our public meeting. Where we kind of present what we've done so far.
In August?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you suggest? We should have
What
it,
works for the town? I mean, what has worked for voting for?
we should have it at the Center for All Things.
What time of year?
Well, this says August, so were you thinking of something other than August, or?
But I mean, unless anybody has a very strong opinion as to why it shouldn't be.
So when is school back in session?
Probably.
Does anyone here drive a school bus who might know?
It's usually a week either side of Labor Day. So
So that's what.
Do we think that there's an advantage to having it after school starts?
I do. Yeah.
So maybe we,
Some,
maybe we should flip the script there, Rodney, where we have the public meeting on September the 18th.
Okay.
And then we talk about land use on August 21st.
yeah, your residents would be more likely to be in town after school starts versus up at Sugarloaf or something.
So part of the contract with KV Cog is we do have like a couple options for surveys. That's something the town wants to look into, I mean, how does the town typically advertise? I mean, how do you get information from people, I guess?
I think there are probably 3 ways. There is the newsletter. Although, seems to me that its production is a little bit more sporadic these days. There's no communications committee, but it's a good vehicle.
Is that monthly?
No, it's like it's either 3 or 4 times a year, depending
Okay.
upon election cycle.
So,
Yeah. The town newsletter, and then of course they have their website, their Facebook page. If my opinion were to be asked, I think that they typically tend to pack too many words into a Facebook post, which leads to people not reading the Facebook post. So I think they'd be better served by having something, a short teaser of some sort with a bit.ly URL
Mhm.
to more information. Yeah, so I think those are the 3 ways. And there's another portion, there's the digital marquee out in front of this building, and there's one at the Center for All Seasons. But I would say this, so I think a survey is a good idea. What you will run into here in Belgrade is everyone will tell you, oh, it needs to be a paper sheet. Don't
No,
believe
not
it.
will not be reviewed for survey.
No, well, you won't get any back.
Right.
So,
Butter's there.
yeah, yes, so I was told that I did a survey here and I said, okay, fine, but I'm also gonna do it online too. And I think I got 105 responses to my survey, which I thought was pretty good. And all but 2 of them were online.
Hmm.
So let's not even
Yeah.
bother and entertain the possibility that someone's gonna sit down with a pencil
And write it
and,
out.
and fill it out and then mail it back to us. Because it's not gonna happen.
So at this public meeting in September, is there a way that you could take 5 minutes of the meeting and lead people through? Like encourage them to get their phones out?
We can
and
do a
this is-
QR code.
Yeah, QR code.
So how long would the survey be? Simple enough that someone could do it over the course of 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, like me personally, whenever I've done surveys in the past, 10, 12 questions at most.
Okay.
No personal information gathered, because that's gonna put people off instantly.
Yeah,
So just quick and easy.
and are the questions just simply, yes, no, or four choices? Or?
Yeah, I would like no sentences,
Okay.
no kind of, secondly to nastiness and means that some silly actions, so.
Comments, none.
Yes, so yes, I'm all for a survey,
Yeah,
I would just
I
say,
can start drafting one up and get it out.
preferably something with a friendly URL, so it's easy to remember, like.
Yeah.
townofbelgrade.com/survey.
Yeah, I'll check with, Lorna when she's available to see about that. And then how do we want to present the plan? I mean, we can do a slideshow. I would volunteer somebody else to present over me if I can get away with it, but I can present to people if necessary. But if, as our fearless leader of the committee, you want to take that on?
I think it should be. I don't think it should be one person. I think it should be a mix of people from this committee and elected officials, i.e. select board members and town staff. So maybe each person is assigned,
One of the topics.
one chapter.
Yeah.
And their presentation should be no more than 4 minutes. So we keep it moving.
Yeah, I can put it all on one slide. We do a slideshow,
Oh,
Not-
put the chapter all on one slide.
but everything that everybody's gonna present, so we're not. I pull up my slideshow, then we go over to the.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes, I see. what
find
you're
your slideshow.
Yes. saying. Yes, absolutely.
I know the town has kind of the supplies to present, we just bought a nice kind of setup to present. So we have kind of options there to make it pretty easy.
I think we also have to just coach people how to do a PowerPoint that's not going to overwhelm.
Oh, I have no problem deleting things.
Well, I'm just talking about like the number of words, the
Yeah.
point size, it needs to be effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can start putting one together too.
And there should be, like, let's make it easy for people, have it be a template. That way
Yeah.
it's easy for people to do and everyone doesn't have to recreate the wheel.
Yes,
They go, I've
exactly.
never done something like this
Yeah.
before, what do I do?
Oh, yes, it should all be this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very
this should be a template, for sure.
Okay.
So next month, then, we will talk about the capital investment plan and fiscal capacity. So. And I'm happy to do this unless you would prefer to do it. It's critical that we have the town manager
Mhm.
and I would say at least one select board member here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna,
And maybe even the town treasurer as well.
I have a rough draft of the capital investment plan started, that chapter.
Yeah.
So I am gonna schedule a meeting with Lorna, the treasurer, and whoever else to kind of have a say in that,
Okay.
to get
Well,
our.
this group won't have any idea about the town's fiscal capacity, so it's gonna be critical that we have staff for them
Yeah.
and a select board.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you'll work to
Yeah.
make that happen,
Yeah, we'll have it.
Excellent.
everything.
right?
There we go.
All right, it's 6:50. We could do this. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I need to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Joy seconded.
Oh.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the meeting is adjourned at 6:50 P.M.